Can you remember that far back?
I can remember that far back, just, yeah. I'd been there at the school quite a while, and Jim joined the school, and we got on well. It was evident he was interested in scuba diving, and I was running a kind of scuba diving club, I suppose you could say, at the school. And it wasn't long before Jim started helping me with that, and we were taking kids off diving all around the south coast of England, and then later to the Red Sea, to Sharm el Sheikh. So unaccustomed as we are to opening beer, I mean, I find this quite a challenge. Look, I seem to be able to do it. There you go.
Cheers.
Cheers. I had not long completed my PADI instructor course and IDC and that kind of stuff up in Gildenborough, in a very cold quarry in March, and we started talking about that, I guess, to some extent, and the fact that I basically felt freezing cold for the vast majority, the whole time. I mean, it wasn't even the majority of the time, it was the whole time, and was really questioning what dive kit I had. And that was part of the whole process of why we started thinking that perhaps we could build something or create something that was better, higher performing than the dive thermal gear that was out there at the time.
There's this almost confusion as to why all these guys coming over to do your instructor exam were also freezing if they presumably had the best kit in the world. They had access to the best kit in the world, and they were still freezing. So logically, it meant that the right kit didn't exist. And then, somewhat naively, possibly a little bit arrogantly, we're like, well, maybe we could make it. Another aspect was that I certainly had spent my time while we were there in Sharm el Sheikh going, get a souvenir T-shirt sort of thing, and there was nothing good. And having been travelling around the world prior to starting this teaching job, I'd been diving all over the place, and I felt like diving was a cool sport. I felt like diving was something that was very much a part of my identity, who I was. I wanted to be. I decided at age 7 that I was going to be a scuba diver. I didn't really understand that, but it was definitely very much a part of me. I learned to dive when I was 16 and thought a great deal about it. But there was nothing like the surf brands. There was nothing out there that said, I'm a diver, that you could wear when you weren't actually diving.
And we kind of played with the idea and then started designing T-shirts, starting investigating fabrics and just getting involved in it. And I think that became quite exciting. And we found that we were interested in the possibilities.
There you go. Look at that. Your favourite pyjamas.
The first ever Fourth Element T-shirt that was ever produced came hot off the press, in fact, hot off the printers, and then Jim sent it to me in Spain so I could see it, kind of early on. And that was obviously quite a moment, and I'm never going to forget that one. Origin, Fourth Element Origin T-shirt, Fourth Element dive wear on the back, Earth, Air, Fire, Water on the front, and boy, did we deliberate over those, precise shades.
A lot of time, a lot of effort went into those. Oh my goodness me! And then this is the first ever brochure, which worryingly includes both of us as models.
It does, doesn't it?
Not me, not as much as Strikey, fortunately for the future of the company. But
friends, colleagues, anybody else we could generally rope in.
Literally random people I met on the beach in South Africa. I went up to and said, "Would you mind, posing for a photo?"
Jim looks 12.
Yeah, that's really
technical dive wear in that. Well, that was kind of our ambition, and weirdly enough, there's 3 names in there that kind of, still with us. Hydraskin, Thermocline, and Xerotherm, and it's it was a weird process of developing this, and we this is actually one of the very first prototypes. And you fitted in that at one point.
No, thanks, Jim. Yeah.
Nice. The Thermocline was actually the first big idea for us, in that how can you make something totally different, neutrally buoyant, underneath, wear it underneath the wetsuit,
something wear it underneath neoprene as such.
Wear it underneath the dry suit, and in our very, very, very early days, thinking, maybe this is a universal undergarment, and then somebody looked at us like we had 2 heads at this point, and we thought maybe we were barking up the wrong tree.
remember drawing patterns literally on the kitchen table, and doing nests of patterns out of paper, like thick pattern paper, which was another whole skill of and a whole new experience. We were sending them off to a factory, and then they would come back and say, well, how are you going to, what's the lay going to look like, and what are the fabric costings? And these were words that we were going like, I don't know, what are you talking about? And so it was just, everything was so completely from scratch. It was, I suppose, very, very exciting, wasn't it, basically?
So we quit our jobs, and then we wrote the business plan. And
I'm still working on it.
And
hasn't been quite finished yet.
Yeah, it's always a work in progress. We booked a stand, went to a trade show, put up the banner that said Fourth Element divewear on the front of the stand, and we dressed the mannequins that we'd taken out of a skip with our sample products.
Gavin.
Yeah, Gavin was one of them. Yeah. Right. Yes.
Right.
Little does he know it, but Ewan McGregor had a fairly significant role to play in the growth of Fourth Element in the early days.
So Ewan McGregor's manager was in fact his mum, and she went, "Oh, hello," and she was very pleasant, quite mumsy really, and said that we'd seen Ewan on Parky the night before, and he was interested in getting hold of some thermal underwear, and we've got some thermal underwear. She said, "Oh, well, that's lovely, but I don't really know much about it. You'll have to get in touch with Doug Allen."
3 months later, we'd kind of forgotten about it.
Yeah, we
Other
had kind of
stuff had happened.
Yeah.
And then these photos turned up in the post. A couple of slides basically, and a little note from Doug saying this was the best thing he'd ever worn, and we could use his name and use these photos wherever we liked. So phoned him just to check, and he said, yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. Just checking that he'd worn it in the way that we thought, which was literally just underneath a neoprene dry suit. And it was that point that we didn't know this at the time, but his reputation later on, we discovered is that he has antifreeze for blood. So it may not have been the best test, in all fairness, but he raved about it.
You supplied
exactly.
Obi-Wan Kenobi with his underwear.
Obi-Wan
Kenobi
like wears Fourth Element.
Really high performance thermal, base layer undersuit type of product, and they pick it up and they go, not very thick, is it? I'm going to keep you very warm. So you'd say, well, actually that's the whole point. It's not very thick, but it does keep you really warm. Oh, I don't think I want to wear this in Stony Cove. And that was, it was basically objection. Never heard of you. Where have you from? What have you got? That doesn't look very good. Well, when you were saying, well, are you going to order any? It was just like, no way.
We learned that persistence pays off, and one of our biggest dealers now, it took me 11 times going in there before they placed an order. 11, that was 10 no's, and come back when you got something else to show us that's interesting.
Was that the same dealer that had to come out and find you after a while? I thought, where's Jim got to?
10 8x4 sheets of MDF, which had all toppled over onto me, and I honestly did not have the physical strength to push them back up again. I just had enough to stop me being crushed. And then a policeman sort of knocked on the back door of the van and said, you can't leave your van here for more than 10 minutes, it's for loading. And kind of got through that before. Do you need some help? And I think they took pity on me in the dive shop after that.
It was quite an extreme way of getting an order, wasn't it? Really?
It was. Stockholm Boat and Dive Show.
Oh gosh.
Which was
just another story.
Another story that probably doesn't need to be told.
I think we just hoped that we'd still be actually in business and still be producing more product and growing the brand.
We like to think, I think it's fair to say, we like to think that we bring people along with us and try and get people more involved and believe in what we're doing.
So we have got an amazing team and full of talented individuals. And as Jim said, who are also on board with the concept of what Fourth Element's about. I think with the direction, what motivates and excites us all. I think there's quite a lot of similarity and unity in that respect.
Fortunately, there's nobody better than us at procrastinating or going off on tangents. So we haven't employed anyone else to do that.
We are excellent at that. Yeah, absolutely.
This was an award we won in 2016 for being the best manufacturer, Sport Diver magazine.
Definitely a very proud
moment.
And
it was a proud moment.
Yeah.
We've always had a reputation for being innovators, and we've always tried to be innovative. We always try to take a different approach to doing things and not just look for the easy solution. When we started out, we always had other ideas as well about our place on the planet. And aside from all of that, I think still the thing that makes me feel the most motivated is the environmental side of things, that and the way that the company has developed over the last 4 or 5 years, and the directions that we've taken there, because I think that's something that it's a legacy for us that goes way beyond. Oh yeah, we made a nice product that kept people warm. So maybe in our own little way, we've had something to do with better custodianship of the planet and handing something on for our kids.
Yeah.
I think there's something more important about what we do outside of that simple context.
Does that follow nicely onto this?
Nicely onto that.
But this was a defining moment, wasn't it?
Not
Not you wearing them.
Yeah. No.
Or me. From quite an early point in our development, we've had a kind of environmental consideration. It's only been, 5 years that we've been able to start really putting that into some kind of tangible action by producing initially the swimwear, and then obviously all the other products that we've now started to create, which integrate recycled yarns and have a better environmental footprint.
This idea that we can just carry on as we were is a complete fallacy, and if we can do something about it, then maybe other people can too. I hope, possibly against hope really, that there are still parts of the world that people travel to experience wonder underwater.
Probably shouldn't talk about anything about that. That's probably a really bad idea. Scratch that.
When the team from Game of Thrones came to when the team came to us and said, would we provide thermal equipment to keep the actors warm, that was a pretty awesome moment, to be fair.
Talking at the UN has got to be something that I have to put down as a bit of a highlight. I mean, if you'd asked me at any time in my life, am I likely to talk at the UN, and be like, no chance.
The people you meet all over the world who love doing what we do and whose lives have been improved by what we do. And it's pretty cool. What do you want to do in 20 years' time?
I don't know. I probably hope to be retired, I would think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.